Dixie cup in the cup, holder shaking, making waves. I'm Elvis.
Good morning, guys. Man, sometimes that's just how I like to start my day. For those that don't know, I'm a huge Yellow Wolf fan. Probably my favorite rapper. I like the fact that the dude can sing and rap really well. Before that, it was DMX, you know. God, I love Dex. But anyway, guys, I had a really good question and suggestion. So we're going to go ahead and get into that topic today. So let's do it, guys. So someone had left a comment. They really wanted to know how I got into the car audio thing and what my first system was. Fair enough. I might have said this before in a video. I'm not sure. I think I did. It's probably an old video. You know, back when I only had like 4 subscribers, you know, and 3 people watching. But I guess I was probably maybe like 14, and my cousin Pee Wee, we call him Pee Wee because he's really short, you know, definitely vertically challenged. But he would come to my grandma's house, and my grandma raised me, you know, and he would come up to visit, and we had this long driveway, which really sucked for taking the garbage out and checking the mail. But he was probably like at the end of our driveway, and I heard boom, boom, boom. And at this time, I had never heard a subwoofer. And believe it or not, they were relatively like new. Okay, he was like the first person in our whole county to have them. And he had a, you know, what was considered a system back then in his car, which, you know, he had like door speakers in the back, all Alpine head unit, and Alpine amp. But this day when he pulled up, man, he was bumping. I don't even know what kind of subwoofers they were. I do remember he always ran like a Punch 75 on them. We're talking, this is old school, guys. But man, I loved riding in that car. I mean, I was hooked first time I heard it, but when he would actually like take me cruise a little bit or take me somewhere and he would turn it up, I was only so happy. God, it was basically set up as an infinite baffle setup, which, God, he only had 2 tins in the car, and they took the back seat out and made like this thing shaped like a back seat out of wood with carpet on it, and was using like the trunk as an enclosure, which terrible install by today's standards. But I mean, back then it looked pretty nice, you know, and it worked. I mean, for the time period, it definitely worked. Now, when I got my first car, all I could really afford to put in it, I had like there was a brand called Acoustic. I had a little Acoustic, like I think 60 watt amp in it or 50 watt amp. Couple Alpine 6x9s in the rear deck, cheap Spark-O-Matic like head unit. And then when I got like my second car, I got more serious, you know, and had a little better job. And I wound up with I had a JVC head unit, CD player. I bought this Sanyo amp, man. And I've still been looking for one because I loved it. It was like my first good amp, and it was amazing. And it was pretty decently big, and it came with a power wire sticking out of the amp that you could run from the trunk to the battery, which was awesome back in the day. And it was 4-channel, and I believe it was like 50x2 and 100x2, if I remember correctly. And I was running like 2 Targa 10s off of the 100x2, and I absolutely loved that system. I could shake stuff in my console. Like if I had a soda in the console, it would actually like do this to it. But it was my first system. Terrible install. I had no clue what I was doing. Guys, I didn't even have RCAs back then. RCAs were like way out of my budget at the time of saving to buy this stuff. And I went to Radio Shack and bought RCA ends and put speaker wire between them. going from like the head unit to the trunk. It was absolutely terrible. God, my install was so bad. I mean, back then, like when I put door speakers in the car, I literally like just cut the door panel out and the steel behind it. I had like a jigsaw that I was trying to do this crap with, you know? And I was doing everything like really, really low budget and with no knowledge. And I made it work. I mean, I was proud of my system. Like I said, it was terrible. I didn't know how to build a box. Like that was the furthest thing from my mind. I was basically taking dimensions of the trunk and building what would fit in there out of like 1/2-inch plywood. God, I'm ashamed to admit all this, but we all start somewhere, you know. God, today you guys have it a lot better. I mean, I know there's some guys watching this that are around my age. It's like, dude, I remember this shit, you know, but now we have like YouTube and car audio groups that help people learn things. We have tools like handheld oscilloscopes and the DD1 that make life so much easier. Like back when I installed my first few systems, I had no idea what clipping was. Like we would turn the head unit up, leave the subwoofers hooked up, and turn the gain knob up until it sounded like crap and turn it back down a little bit, you know. That's kind of how we set gains back in the day. If you didn't have an oscilloscope. And I don't think you could get a handheld oscilloscope back then. And if you could, my God, they would have been expensive, you know, because we didn't have Amazon. But now, I mean, in addition, this person also asked, I guess, what was Debbie's first system? So when me and Deb got together, I had already had a few different systems. Back then I had an 86 Toyota mini truck with two 12-inch Image Dynamics IDQs. God, the box I had to build in that mini truck was terrible. If you know the Toyota pickups, like the 84 to 88 body style, the back of the cab is so chopped and bumped that it was terrible to build anything in there. I had these two 12s in there in like little sealed boxes, and my seat was all the way forward. And I mean, everything was a tight fit. I can't even remember what the model number was, but I was running them on a Blade amp, which them Blade amps were pretty like killer back in the day. But Deb liked bass, and then after we was together a while and like got our own house and moved in together, she had a little Oldsmobile car, and I got her two JL8s, I think, on a little Cadence amp that was in the trunk. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. I definitely had to move. I was getting a terrible glare across my beard. Not as bad now, but anyway, that was kind of Deb's first system. Was the Oldsmobile with like two JL, I believe they were 8s or 10s. Okay, it's been a while back, a long time ago. And at the time, I had my Toyota mini truck. I had a different Toyota mini truck. It was same body style, because I love that 84 to 88. But I always lowered them. Like the one I'm talking about now, I had it, the 88. I had it on air ride and everything. But she had that little JL system. I had put a Memphis system, which made me really not a fan of Memphis stuff. But I had two Memphis 10s in that, and I actually fiberglassed the whole back of the cab and everything, and built like a really nice system in it with door pods. I learned a lot doing the little setup in there. I was going more out of my normal realm and getting into other stuff. Because I would watch like a YouTube video and it's like, okay, yeah, this is how you do fiberglass, you know, and I would just do it. But back then I had a CRX and I had 4 Kicker Comp VR10s in it. On a Hyphonics Brutus, I believe it was a 2600 watt amp. I had like 4 batteries in there. They were like little AGM batteries for a floor scrubber. My battery guy that worked for Interstate Battery, he actually found out that the company that made these little floor scrubber batteries, they were the same exact battery as the Kinetic HC800s. Like, same exact battery, just different. They come from the same place. So I had all those in the back. And believe it or not, that little car would win like loudest of the day at a lot of comps I went to. With just them 4-kicker 10. We kept building boxes, and I learned really quick that CRXs, they love to burp 63, 64 hertz. And I was like winning trophies for burping. And I got that little car up to like a 153. And that was the year that most orgs went to the term lab. So there were guys that were talking about, oh, I did a 60 before, you know, and now I'm only doing a 49. But that little car, it was getting it. And everybody, I mean, I know people hate on Kicker, but that car brought me a long way with like cheap comp VRs. Great little burp car. And that was kind of my last system, was in those two vehicles until I built this. You know, children, I got into other hobbies because I'm a man of many hobbies. I've messed around with like Harleys, ATVs, quads, remote control cars, like, you know, the little nitro. I've been into like every hobby. I dabble in everything. But Deb has always liked bass, my wife, and you know, I've had mentions about her. She really gets into this. So after I built this, she wanted a system, and at the time, all she had was her daily driver, the Ford Edge, and I had 2 good American Bass XFL 15s that was in here that I didn't blow. So I built her an enclosure for the Edge, put those in there, you know, ran her power wire, put her a nice double DIN head unit in it, and hooked up the steering wheel controls. I mean, I tried to do everything right. I built her A-pillar pods out of fiberglass, put her decent mids and highs in it, and we got like 54, 55 out of that car. And it's like got the whole panoramic roof up here, you know. And that was on a MD8K, Taurus MD8K. I've had 2 MD8Ks in there. I've had a Vital Power in there. I've had one of the DS18 Hooligan KOs in there. She wound up blowing both of the American Bass XFLs at a comp, metering it, and I wound up buying her 2 custom built FIs. So, I mean, the car's still bumping. Right now it's on the little Audio Legion 1600.1s, which those are some very impressive little amps, because that car still gets down. I haven't metered it with them, and I haven't clamped power on those, which that's in my future videos after my move and everything. But I want to clamp them and see what they do. So Deb's love of that, but she felt like she would always park by me at shows, and nobody really was asking for a demo and that, because after getting out of like a bunch of walled cars, a lot of people just didn't want demos in a loud no-wall car that won't hair trick. I mean, the car would hair trick sometimes, but it depended on songs. So that's kind of what me and her have going on, you know. And then I built her the Blazer, and most of y'all have been following me and seen videos from like the Blazer build to now and what's going on with this thing. But that's kind of how I got into audio and my hobby path up to here with it. You know, from my first car to that Toyota mini truck that I had the 2 Image Dynamics IDQs in, I had a lot of systems back and forth. Nothing great. You know, I'd say my knowledge really took off. I had a 1986 Buick Regal. And up until that point in my audio history, I had never built a ported box. And I got 412s when I had that Buick Regal, MTX 2300 amp, and I figured out how to put 412s in the trunk of that car, ported, and I had built many different enclosures for it, because I would build an enclosure and I'd be extremely happy with it. And in my head, I would have other designs, and something I wound up doing in that car that made me really proud of myself, that at the time I had never seen anybody do. I was always firing my subs forward and ports up or out the side. And in that Buick Regal, I got the bright idea of taking everything out. I built an enclosure that was multiple pieces. Like, I built a back that stuck up against the seat. That had to be smaller. And I built a front part that had to angle down and step out. And I had all 412s there facing backward. And what I wound up doing is bolting them two pieces together with silicone in between them. But the piece is stuck back in against the back seat. You know, it was angled. It fit in there good. That was like one of the very first enclosures that I designed really well, took my time, and like tried to cut everything really good. But what I had done is I had cut the rear deck of that car out where the 4x10 speakers went. I cut it all out. And I just took a Sharpie and drew on top of that back box piece that slid in there. And that's where I made my port. I made a slot port, and it was the first car I ever did a slot port in too. But it fired up through the rear deck is where I fired my port. So it fired up, and the back window of a G-body has, well, if you're looking at it that way, it has a little angle like this. So everything would kind of come up and load off of that. And up until my CRX, that was the loudest car that I had owned at the time. And I never metered it. Back then, I mean, all we could do for meter was like the audio control, and they sucked. And, you know, I was all about cruising around and playing music. So that car, it was one of the first that I really, like, in my mind, I thought long and hard and planned it and really pulled stuff out of the norm, you know, that I hadn't seen anybody else do. And I felt I was really trying to step away and do my own thing at that point. But anyway, that's the rundown of my audio history and Deb's audio history. You guys want to see more videos with Deb, so I'm going to try to get her involved in my weekend videos. Like the ones that I shoot on my days off.
Sorry, could you say that again? Sorry, I'm having...
Shut up, Siri. But I'm going to try to get her more involved in things that I do on my days off with her. Because I've had a couple requests to do more videos with her. But anyway, guys, this is a long video, and I hope some of y'all make it to this point of the video. Drop comment down there and let me know how you got into this hobby and, you know, some things that you've done. I'd love to read the comments. I try to read comments every night when I get home from work. So, anyway, leave me a comment, like the video, subscribe if you're not. It all helps me. But peace out and bass on, guys.